Welcome to part 2 of our second episode called Working with New Clients, or the topic is Working with New Clients, not called. Sorry, I don't typically do video podcasts. This is my first time, so. We're the marketers next door. We got Jen here and myself,
Hi.
John. So again, this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go back and look at part 1. We're talking about working with new clients and the importance of establishing trust. That was in part 1. Part 2 is going to be more specifically on working with leadership and executives, because that's really at the core of who you need to have trust with and establish rapport with. So,
And not
let's
to
kick it
say
off.
that,
Okay.
not to say we don't work with, marketing managers, marketing coordinators, or
Okay.
kind of sales coordinators. We definitely value those roles in the clients we work with as liaisons. It's really helpful because, as we know, like leadership and executive teams are often very busy with a lot of other things. And when you are working on marketing initiatives, roadblocks are your worst enemy, your biggest enemy.
Right.
So
Totally.
having those kind of intermediate roles, we love to work with you guys.
Yeah.
But like John said, ultimately working with the leadership and executive teams and having the trust with them is key.
Totally. So I'm going to kick it off with an example. This is a real example. This is not a fictional one. Back with my past. So if you haven't heard about my past, go watch the first episode where Jen and I talk about how we got into marketing. So at this e-commerce business, we had a large marketing budget, right? Some businesses, especially SMBs, they don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. I think like Matt and Jen, for Solar Art, their marketing budget was always about 3% of revenue, right? It was a pretty low marketing budget.
It's small business budget.
Yeah, small business. Most businesses go from 7 to 10% of revenue, reinvest that back into marketing, and hopefully grow 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, right? So at this e-commerce business, we had a large marketing budget. We hired multiple agencies for specific roles, but I'm going to talk about one agency that we hired for SEO. I'm not going to name drop because they're still a very reputable agency, and I think they are kind of leaders in a space. But I'll tell you how the misalignment between the leadership at the e-commerce business was not aligned with the marketing agency, and basically what happened. So we hired the CMO who didn't really understand marketing, didn't know how to really track things. He wasn't a good project manager, didn't really understand how the funnel works, or even how just to attribute revenue and track everything accordingly. And so he naturally just wanted to hire agencies to do things. We had an in-house marketing team. So the marketing team was already really good, but he wanted to change what we were doing. He wanted to come in, he wanted to just disrupt everything, right? And he did. So we started looking into an agency for SEO specifically. I went down there, as a lead developer, I obviously went down there to talk with the agency. The CMO went with me, and then the CEO went with me. So the three of us went and had this conversation with this very prestigious marketing agency, right? This SEO agency. And we had a couple of conversations over the phone. We had that one in person. We loved it. We were vibing. They liked us. We liked them. It was like this corporate glass room and in a bubble. And we're like, we want this, and we can do that for you guys. And we're like, cool, let's do this, right? And I think I was 26 at the time, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. So
Fired up.
yeah, I was fired up for sure. I remember on the drive home, we were stoked. We're like, yeah, we're gonna grow so big. So we agreed to working with them. We started off by we had an account rep with them, or account manager, and she was actually a really nice lady. I'm not bashing what she did. I chalk this up to the misalignment between leadership and the agency. So basically, they gave us this massive list of keywords that we should be targeting, right? And we just didn't see results, right? And the CMO just wanted to keep going. Let's just keep going. Then he started to run ads against those keywords, right? Those keywords that the agency gave to us, because they were also managing our SEM at the time. So now we have these pages that were poorly written already, right? We weren't content writers, and we were taking words that they told us were valuable in our industry. And now we were selling cell phone cases. So every single keyword was a version of the word phone case, right? Protective phone case, shiny phone case, slim phone case.
All the descriptive words.
And you know what? We're in, we get pretty, I nerd out on SEO quite a bit more than I should, but
I'm aware.
They were basically just targeting all these broad keywords, right? These really expensive PPC keywords, and then like really hard organic keywords to rank for. They wanted us to just focus on the iPhone 8 phone case, right? To rank for that is really, OtterBox has been around for years, and they want us to try to outrank OtterBox organically. I'm thinking like, what the hell?
And Apple?
And Apple, yeah, like all these like big box stores, like Walmart, that's what they're targeting, right? So that's what we were going for, right? We were going for like these really hard keywords. And so I was just like, okay, like I'll do this. And, I kicked back quite a bit with the lady, and she was like, I know, like this is not really working out. And I'm like, yeah, the results they're not there. Like we aren't growing organically. Like our traffic is down actually, because we're stuffing all these keywords with broad keywords that people are searching and going to Apple and OtterBox and Walmart and Amazon. They're not hitting our web pages. So we saw a decrease in traffic, but we kept that relationship going. And then, like I said, we're running ads against it too. And lo and behold, this SEO agency never once said, let's create a landing page to send this paid traffic to see if we can't convert them. They just sent it to the home page. They just sent it to the product page. They sent it to the collection page. And so naturally what happens, we get a lot of bounce. You get a lot of clicks. You get a lot of bounces, right? Because they're just going to collection page. The customer's going like, okay,
that's
shit. These
the
are just
fastest way to waste money on Google Ads.
Which is when Jen first met me, I was like, I hate Google Ads. I hate them.
Yes, so much pushback.
I hated them. Still kind of do, but if you do it right, they're very, very effective. And that's the first thing we tackled as a team. We're like, let's change the way we do this. And we were really good at that. And we were really good at that. So I was like, this is just crazy. We're just watching dollars just down the drain. And I'm just like, this is insane. So I took things over myself, and I re-architected the website, used keywords where they should have been. Literally, I looked at Nike. What is Nike doing for their product pages? What is Nike doing for their collection pages? That's how we should be targeting it. So we ended up making, just me and the dev team just started making these design changes and keyword changes on the webpage. And eventually we saw the traffic come back up. We saw the iPhone 8 collection page rank number 1. And so we're like, success. But that wasn't because of the agency. Again, this whole example is because the person at the top making the decisions, working with the marketing agency, had a misalignment. They didn't have the right KPIs, or maybe they weren't tracking them correctly, and they didn't make necessary pivots to make it ROI positive, right? And like Jen said, we like working with liaisons because they're the people doing it, right? They probably understand it a little bit more than the execs. And they might know, hey, this is not working, but the exec team is still wanting to go for this route. So that's the dangerous part is it can cost you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So I just really want to stress that part is like whoever's working with that agency, whether it's yourself as a business owner or a CMO or a CRO, a CFO, or even just like a marketing coordinator, marketing manager, whatever, a marketing associate, you really have to make sure you establish the goals, the KPIs, and be aligned, because if you're not, it's months of time and it's lots of money, right? And you're not going to get that back, unfortunately. So that's my spiel on that, and it hurts. Even when I look back at it, it's such a downer. Like it's such a downer.
In that situation, did you guys have good communication with their team and their company?
No, I had.
Were they giving you reports or anything?
Yeah, we had a couple reports with them that I remember, and they were about the paid side of things.
Okay.
And
because that's easier to report on.
Exactly. You can totally report on paid.
It's
like, yeah, you're literally just reading a report from Google. Like, hey, you had this many clicks. You had, like, so I was just kind of blown away. And like I said, it was just a waste of time. Now it's a great learning opportunity. Now, as Jen and I run this marketing agency, we know that, hey, we want to avoid that situation for all of our clients at all costs.
1,000%. That's why one of our core values is transparency, because I know I've heard about that example numerous times. And then, on our end as well, working at Solar Art, being the marketing coordinator and just working with third-party agencies and pulling resources from anywhere that we could, we had that issue of trust as well, because they didn't understand our business. They didn't try to understand our business. When it came to reporting, they talked you in circles to try to make you think that it was working. And I think for me, that was like the biggest red flag. I was like, you're not telling me anything. You're just talking in circles, trying to explain that you didn't really do what you said you were going to do, but trying to make it positive. And I'm like, Matt, I don't think this is working. Like, we need to stop this. Yeah. And that's, that's why historically too, like, Matt hates marketing, because a lot of agencies don't have that transparency. They don't have the reporting. They don't necessarily take the time to invest in you and your business. And I feel like in your scenario, had they done the research, had they really invested in what your goals were and been in alignment, you guys wouldn't have had to backtrack on your traffic, waste tons of money. Just
totally
bad shit right there.
Heartbreaking. It's like heartbreaking. I'm like, damn, dude. Long answer for the first part. I'm sorry that took so long, but that leads into the second part, right?
Yeah. That leads into kind of working with high up executives in leadership. We have to be able to speak intelligently with them, make sure we understand when we're talking about business, we're using the right language. We understand what a P&L means. We understand this example John likes to bring up a lot, what synergies are and stuff like that. But being in the marketing space, I didn't, bring my career up as a business owner, so I didn't understand a lot of these things. But working with Matt and his businesses, being a part of these leadership meetings and listening to their CFO talk about the P&Ls and the financial goals, even on the acquisition side, like learning what synergies were within the acquisitions the company was doing and having a part of that. I spent years in those meetings being able to learn how to speak intelligently about how businesses run and all the different aspects, departments, different reports that need to be created, to really take the business side and the marketing side and kind of marry them together. I think that's really important that we're able to speak intelligently about it.
Yeah. If you're talking to an agency and there's like, they're using old school terminology, they're talking like print, or like they're just, they don't understand a P&L, they don't understand budgets, they don't understand ROI, they don't understand a bottom line, growth, gross sales, revenue, profit. Those are
not even just like understanding a budget, having a budget too, right?
Yeah,
that was something for the longest time, working in Solar Art before it became the size that it was even 5 years ago. There was not necessarily a budget, right? It was just like, does this make sense? Do we think there's going to be ROI? Okay, let's do it. Right. And then as the company grew, we were like, no, we need to have a budget. We need to have, a budget for this office, a budget for this office. We need to have a corporate budget. And so all of those things you learn as you grow. And that's what we really like to do with our clients, is understand, like, again, the whole business and the goals of the business. That I think leads really well into like understanding the drivers of the business and then how marketing becomes a play in those drivers, right?
Totally. Yeah, totally. So with one of our partners, Solar, we get to work with the CFO on a regular basis. And so, as a CFO, there's some really important drivers. You understand what the drivers of the business are, right? You're responsible for the growth of the business, essentially. If you're not the CFO, the CRO, you're really focusing on the bottom line. What's the profit of this?
Right.
How much money is being spent there? What's the ROI on that? Should we keep investing time and money into that if it's not returning some sort of value? So we work with the CFO and we get to understand, what are the 6 core drivers of the business, right? And they can lay it out for you, and they can go, this is really important, this is really important, this is really important, and this is really important. And so as a marketing agency, you need to make sure that your strategies align with their goals, right? What's going to drive their business? Especially if they're savvy. So if they're not savvy, they don't really understand marketing, they don't know why they're not growing, then that's your opportunity to kind of pitch ideas to them, right? Because they might be struggling, which is, we consult, and, Matt can be a consultant and kind of say, well, you should look at your business this way and that way.
We have those resources to be able to help out for sure.
Right. And that's a little bit different. If you don't know how to grow your business, that's a whole different thing, right? You probably need some help through consultation, and then maybe layer in marketing after you kind of have identified what you want to do. But if you are a business that knows how you're growing and where you want to grow to, those core drivers, you need to communicate those with your marketing agency so they know that every single strategy needs to tie back to one of those core drivers. Because if they're not, then what are they doing, right? So yeah, it always comes back to that, right? It comes back to that trust. Like Matt hates marketing because he never understood like what the agencies were doing, right? What these outsourced agencies were doing, and did it return a result? Did they see the impact on the bottom line? And he was always like, I never knew, like I never saw, I didn't understand what they were doing. It was complicated. Like you said, they were talking in circles with all these acronyms that didn't make sense. And so it was just a really poor experience. And I think a lot of SMBs feel that. And even mid-sized to large-sized companies, like in my past, maybe we didn't understand. It's not that we didn't understand what they were saying. It was just there was a misalignment.
Yeah.
They didn't understand what our core drivers were, or maybe maybe the CMO wasn't able to effectively communicate that to them. And so it's no fault at the agency side, but they should have cut off that relationship, saying, "Hey, this isn't working."
Right. There's no need to prolong it.
Right. Yeah, and that's why, like Jen said, transparency is really important to us. If it's not working, stop spending, analyze the data that you got, and see what's wrong, and see if you can salvage it. If you can salvage it, great. As long as it ties back to a driver, and it's worth the time to analyze and get that back going, that's great. But if it's not working and you don't understand what the agency's doing and you're just misaligned, cut it off, because it's going to cost you more. You're never gonna, like I said, you're never going to get that time back. You're never going to get those dollars back, unfortunately.
And it's going to be bad for both parties too. So, it's like a relationship.
Totally.
Just end it. The signs are there.
Or you're going to do what Matt did. You're going to have to go learn marketing yourself and hire these in-house teams and create a marketing agency out of it. You could do that too.
That's the, we definitely recommend and love that route, but let's be honest, it takes a long time.
Yes.
It takes a long time, so.
And avoid that pain that Matt went through. Matt went through it for you. Don't go through it yourself.
Avoid it. Just work with us.
Totally. So that's pretty much it, right?
Thank you guys for tuning in and listening again. We love doing this, and we love talking about it, sharing our ideas and what we've learned with you guys. So tune in for the next one. I think we have a fun topic on why bigger isn't always better.
Ooh, interesting. Be sure to write some comments below so we know what you guys are thinking, and then so that way we can bring them in as future topics, so we can kind of talk directly with you guys a little bit more candidly. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.